Are you confused about writing? Do you not know where to start or even how to finish? Do you love writing so much that it burns deep in your soul, but you still don't know how to meet your goals? Are you looking for a little inspiration that will take you on a writer's vacation? Then let us all write together. Let us all write our way. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Write Our Way. I'm your host, Patrick Starks, and today we're going to get a little deep within ourselves. Today is going to be all about clearing our minds for writing and what that means. In such harsh times that we're in today, I know it can be really hard to really find the mood, should I say, for writing. We got far too many things going on in our lives. We got bills, we have, family issues. We might have some things going on that we'd rather not share amongst each other. And a lot of times as a writer, in order to write stories, we need to have our minds very clear and focused to be able to bring out these beautiful characters and these beautiful worlds. But I know it's easier said than done, right? Not a lot of us can just push these elements out of our lives that are distracting from our writing away necessarily. In fact, for some of us, we have to find a way around this. And just to go off topic for a little bit, the reason I'm bringing up this discussion in the first place is because I myself found this struggle. For about 2022, all of 2022 in fact, was kind of struggling with trying to focus on what I wanted to do with my writing. And I had a lot of things that went on that year that kind of, put me not in the depressed state, but just kind of like in a state where I just kind of had the what ifs lingering around, and the what ifs had me kind of like staggered on actually focusing on my writing because I was always trying to get the answers to the what ifs. And beautifully, the answer was right in front of me. It was my writing. The writing was the healer for me. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is season 2, right? We've all known each other for quite some time now. And the honest truth, guys, is that I fell in love. I had a gal that I really, really felt deeply for. And she and I were, on and off for quite some time. But I thought, this time it would definitely work out. And, she gave me my answer. She just kind of faded away. And it wasn't the first time. So I'm not going to drop any tears in this podcast, but I'm just trying to get on a deeper level with you guys and try to show you what writers and what everybody goes through in life when they're trying to focus on something that they really love, whether it be something they're passionate about or something they have a dream for, anything. It's very, very difficult sometimes to focus on that when you have these things in life that kind of rattle you. And if you're anybody like me, I have a very, very strong memory. I still remember the first time I walked, and that is a blessing and a curse all on its own, because not everything necessarily in our lives we want to always remember. Some things we'd rather forget, and for others, this can be very easy. I know some people that can just cut a switch off and they forgot about that person or forgot about that thing that happened. But for people like me, I build a very strong connection with things and people. I'm very spiritual, and I'm very in tune with my emotions. And so it's not that easy for me to just break off like that. So that is another reason why I'm bringing this discussion up. I'm showing you or telling you what I've learned throughout the process of me writing and kind of like putting those memories aside. I'm going to tell you what a lot of writers don't want to talk about, because let's face it, all writers, they have no different life than anybody else. They live the same lives as everyone else, but they don't really necessarily speak about how they go through their writing process when they're dealing with drama in their lives or any traumatic experience. How do they continue to write these beautiful stories when there's not much beauty going on in their lives? You have to get to know yourself. You got to find beauty in your life, in the world that you connect to. But you also have to get rid of the toxic stuff around you too, all the stuff that brings you down, because you can't have these beautiful stories with a stormy sky in your head. You gotta have clear skies in your head. You can't have storms going on. And so one of the main ways I got around this, and one of the main ways I always get around this type of issues in my life, is I think of the times when I was the happiest. And a lot of times I was the happiest was when I was a kid. I had a very good childhood. My parents were very good to me, my brother. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, we weren't living in the suburbs or anything like that, but we had love, in our family. And I think that's one of the things I always gravitate towards. And, when I'm not getting that from people, especially when I'm giving them so much love back, it tears you apart. And it's hard to write. It's hard to focus on the things that you got going on in your life. And so I can't remember who it was, but someone had made a good point on a video I was watching. And it's like, we just got to get back to a period of being love itself, like in the 70s, it was all about peace and love, and I think as the decades and the generations have gone on, it's changed tremendously, especially through social media. People are very, materialistic and shallow. But more so, I wouldn't just say become love itself, but find love again with your writing. There's a reason why you started writing. There's a reason you've been doing it for so long. And that was one of the things I had to kind of ask myself. It's like, why do you still write? Why do you still love it? What is it giving you that the world isn't giving you? When I asked myself this, I was thinking about that quote with Gandhi, right? Become the change you want to see in the world. And so with stories, I realized it really allowed me to elaborate on the changes that I wanted to see in the world, the changes that I felt would benefit the world. And it also let me highlight things that people aren't courageous enough to boldly come out and say. A lot of my stories are very upfront, and we see a lot of these things we see in movies or TV shows we wouldn't dare, do in front of anybody in real life or say to anybody in real life, especially when it's coming down to something like love or just being kind to one another. It's kind of sad that we only get these in stories, right? But then again, I also think that's another reason why I write. I'm trying to get people to see how beautiful life is. And I think when you find your purpose with your writing and you find that love again, that love within yourself, your mind can be so much clearer, because now that we've kind of dove into all of those aspects, we now have forgotten about all the things that happened in the past. We forgot about all the toxicity that happened, all the trauma. But I think the biggest part to all this is that what holds a lot of people back is they aren't content with being by themselves. They're not used to being with themselves. Like they find no comfort by themselves, which I find for myself, being an introvert, I just find that very disheartening, because you should love yourself. You should be your biggest fan. And if you can't spend time with yourself, that's going to dramatically hurt you as a writer. I mean, it's detrimental that you as a writer have time by yourself to reflect, to write, to think, be inside your headspace. You got to get to a point in your life where you know what you want. Having too many voices in your head from the wrong people can really hurt you negatively. And that's why I say too, surround yourself around positive people. But again, I can't speak for everybody. I know that some people have such traumatic experiences that it's very hard to be inside your head. It's very dark. It's not easy. But this is why it's so vital that these people get away from all the naysayers or the people that are giving them toxic behaviors, trying to influence them to do things that aren't so good for them. They need to be around more positive people who shed more of a positive light on their lives for the better. And that alone, my friends, can improve your writing significantly. Now, before I tell you this next thing, I need to be careful not to contradict myself here. I know there's a lot of times where we can kind of contradict ourselves and say things that kind of even out to the same playing field as the other, and it doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to tell you a quote that was said by Mother Teresa, and it says, "Some people come in our lives as a blessing, and some people come in our lives as a lesson." And more so, just to add to this can be things, not just people. This can be materialistic things in your life that are really kind of taking you away from what you're really passionate about. Materialistic things that you think might give you the attention from others. This right here is so powerful. And the reason I'm bringing this quote up is because all the traumatic experiences that I was talking about, you know, the negative people or the negative things in your life, learn from them. They're lessons. They might not be blessings, but they're still lessons that you can use to aid you in your stories. I mean, think about it. How could we have sad moments in our stories if we haven't experienced sadness? I know it's hard to believe, but sometimes these lessons can give us some ingredients for our stories. I mean, after all, how can you be a good chef if you've never tried to cook with other ingredients? And if we want to serve our books as gourmet meals to our readers out there, then it's best we experience as much as we can. And like I said, it's not to say that you got to voluntarily go out there and get your butt kicked by the world, but be bold and courageous enough to go out there and have those experiences without the fear of failure or, you know, again, getting your heart broken or losing a friend, you know, because you've changed. Just the small stuff. Forget about it. Really go out there and experience life, because the more you experience, the more you have at your disposal. I mean, you guys know the saying, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But also, what doesn't kill you makes you wiser, in my opinion. And oh, my friends, how wisdom is greatly needed when writing stories, especially fiction, more so nonfiction. But regardless of which one you choose, wisdom is greatly needed for both. And in order to get that wisdom, again, we have to go out there and have those experiences. All while not having them be a burden on us, but more so of an aid, an assistant for us. And this is why I don't feel bad, you know, about having my heart broken a few times in my life, because I know what love feels like. I know what it feels like to love, but I also know what it feels like to have that love, you know, broken. And because of this, I'm able to tell such compelling stories. I'm able to connect with my audience on such a deeper level. And so whatever experiences the audience might have had, I can reflect that in the characters and kind of show, I wouldn't say a remembrance of what they experienced, but more so this perseverance. You know, I think a lot of times in stories, we don't see the closure in our own stories. You know, if people break up, there's never any closure. There's never an answer given from one or the other. But in these stories we tell, we get to see that closure, and it kind of gives people this closure within their own stories, oddly. But I think that's the beauty about us all being storytellers, right? It's that giving people this sense of closure, or giving them this lesson that they can take with them and say, you know what? It's going to be okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. On the contrary, though, this is something that we also have to tell ourselves as the writers, right? Because again, like I said before, we as writers get lost in our own, you know, stories in our actual lives. And so we look for that closure. We're too wrapped up in writing stories for other people that we sometimes tend to disregard ourselves. And that's something that I wanted to elaborate on about writers, because we're human too, you know. We're not robots. We're not some auto-texting machine. We have feelings too. So, and sometimes those feelings deter us away from our actual craft, which is writing. I mean, if I was a hermit and I just didn't experience anything in my life, I never had any relationships or did anything, how could I write a story? I mean, I'm gonna be blunt honest. There is no way I could write a story without actually having some sort of life experience. And so we need to use these blessings and lessons for our stories so that people can see from a different world how life can be. Ask yourself questions so that you can understand where you want to go in life, what you want to do with this writing, what type of audience do you want to reach out to, why do you want to reach out to this audience, how are you going to reach out to this audience, you know? These are just some of the basic questions we have to ask ourselves all the time, you know, just to make sure we're on the right path, you know, that we stay the course. We always got to check in with ourselves and ask ourselves why do we do this? Because I believe truly once you know the whys to why you're doing something, or you're pursuing in something, or a career or anything, then the easier it is to get out all the noise in your head. Because when you want something so badly, when you have a sincere reason to why you're doing it, whether that be for family or child, if you have one, anything, then that's going to always outweigh the negatives in your life. I mean, look at J.K. Rowling, for example. She has a kid, she's a single mother, and she was going through a lot of hardship. She could barely afford food, barely afford rent, and her book, that whole Harry Potter series, was the one thing that she is banking on. That was the one thing she says, I have to write this book, not because I want to make a life better for me and my kid, but also because I have a story to tell people. I have something that I feel that will give people a new meaning to life. And when you have such a powerful reason behind why you're doing something, there's just nothing that can stand in your way. And it's not easier said than done. It's facts. It's laws of cause and effect, people. You put out the good juju, you put out the good karma, thou shalt get good karma back. Now, I know a few of you are probably thinking, well, good karma happens for bad people. Well, let me stop you right there and tell you something that my brother told me. The laws of cause and effect, karma has no timeline. It's almost equivalent to the stock market. You have to be in it for the long haul. You have to play the waiting game. And so for the bad people out there, you see that. You feel that they're getting good karma. Their time's coming. It's just, we don't know. But it might be later on when they're old and gray, or it could be now. We don't know. And the same goes for the people who have good karma. It could happen 10 years from now, or it could happen next month, or it could happen next winter. We don't know these things, but as long as you put the intent, the good intent behind it, you'll get something out of it. And the beauty behind all of this is that the journey is the reward itself. And that's a lot of things that a lot of writers won't talk about, or I wouldn't say they won't talk about, they just don't talk about because I guess there's never been an interviewer to ask them that deep of a question. But to be a writer is a long haul. It's a waiting game. And the deep part about the pathway of being a writer is you learn so much more about yourself, and you learn so much more about life. It truly is therapeutic when they say writing is therapeutic. No matter what time you get that big reward that you've been waiting on from all these years you've been writing, the biggest reward is the growth. With writing, you get so much growth. I myself couldn't be any more thankful for being on this journey, because it's gotten me through a lot of stuff, and it's like armor. It's like I feel sometimes invincible, like nothing can really break me. You feel very unfazed by things because you've gotten so much of a better understanding of life, because as writers, we are studiers of life. That's, again, why I said it's very, very important that we study ourselves, because the world's a big place and you can get lost pretty easily if you're not careful. And that's why I say, I'm going to say it again, surround yourself around positive people, because those positive people will keep you on course so that you don't get led astray onto the wrong path. And another thing of getting you through all this is health. I was just talking to a few coworkers about that. Like, health is so important. Health is one of the biggest things that I know a lot of places don't want to talk about. They rather have us all on medications and whatnot and have us keep going on this downward spiral. I mean, there are some symptoms that people have that they absolutely need medication, but for the most part, most of them you can heal. I mean, I was told years ago I go blind, but my eyes have never been as good as they are now. I've had 2 cataract surgeries. I've had 2 calcium deposits removed from my eye, and I can see so much clearer. And it's because I also had a change of my health. I did the apple a day, keeps the doctor away. I focused more on eating turmeric, taking turmeric. I focused more on taking fish oil tablets. I focused on everything that was going to benefit my eyes, and more so, not just my eyes, but the rest of my body, like my heart, my kidneys. I work out a lot, I run, I do Taekwondo, and I know for some of you that doesn't really sound all that great, but trust me, baby steps, don't be so hard on yourself. Take it one bit at a time, work out once a week. And then if you're feeling up to it, work out twice a week, then 3 times a week. And I think 3 to 4 times out of the week is a pretty good rhythm for working out and keep your body in shape, because a healthy body also, again, it'll keep you up for writing. It'll keep your mind clear. Stay away from processed stuff. Stay away from a lot of sugars. I had a big deal with that too. When I was younger, I drank a lot of energy drinks. I mean, you name it, I was an energy drink king. I had Rock Stars, Full Throttle, Monsters, the NOS drinks. I drank a lot. Surprised that my kidneys are still intact, but again, it's all because I changed my health, and it's never too late. You can change your health. You change your health, then you can reverse a lot of stuff that's going on with you mentally and physically that will help you put more into your writing. But all in all, everyone, I think the main takeaway to this episode is, again, really checking in with yourself, making sure you feel good all around, mentally and physically. And whatever's going on in your life, I know it's hard, just push through it, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Just really find some ways around it. There's always a way around something. I know some people like this, and I would just say, please, 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 if you do have people around you that are trying to help and be there for you, don't be that person that pushes them away. I promise you, you'll regret it. Just please keep them around, because I kid you not, those type of people will take a bullet for you. And all you're doing is pushing away good people and surrounding yourself around bad people. And that's never good. So let's all stop doing that. I know a lot of people that I've loved dearly that pushed me away. I try to help out, and they just didn't get it. They didn't understand that I would just take a bullet for them. I would do anything to make them or help them get better, to make them feel better. But that's kind of the downfall. Like, when you don't accept that help, then you can't really complain about the world coming down on you. I mean, you're at your own demise at that point. So yeah, please, 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 definitely keep the good people around you in your life. Keep writing, keep reading. Most importantly, keep loving what you do. Keep loving writing. Don't lose that passion. Don't let anybody push you away from that passion. Stick to it, because I promise you, your reward will be great. It's not about being the best author. I mean, of course we do want that as writers, but writing gives you so much more than that. And I think that's what I wanted to really have the takeaway here for us, is to understand that writing is so much more on a deeper level than what we think. It's so much more than about telling stories. And I haven't really had a chance to talk with many people deeply about this. And so it's good to talk with you all about this, because usually when I'm talking about people with writing, I'm kind of talking about the basics, right? Like how to write a short story, and, how to build it up and how to close it out. But I never talk about all the inner works that go around writing, all the, perseverance that goes around trying to get to that level of being confident in your writing and being a strong writer. And so you guys know it. Love you all. Keep writing, again, keep reading, keep at it. You know it, become a child again. Imagine my friends. And please, guys, if you could, leave me a review on Apple iTunes or Spotify. I greatly appreciate it. I love talking to you guys about this, and I want to continue doing this for you. And love hearing from you guys. So, again, take care, guys, and see you on the next episode. All right. Catch you later.